The death toll from the Moroccan earthquake has climbed past 2,800, but there are fears thousands more may still lie unaccounted in villages dotted through the Atlas Mountains. Some international aid is getting in, but the need is overwhelming in areas still cut off from help.
Finding a way through roads vulnerable to fresh boulder falls, the first international rescue teams are now reaching the epicentre. This Spanish team is directed to a building where a 12-year-old girl is trapped. All ears strain for something. But there is now no reply. Morocco has a young population. Many of the hasty funerals are for children. British specialists have also arrived, one of just 4 nations being allowed to provide aid. But in all of this, where do you start?
We often shed a tear when we're telling people bad news, but you know, this is what we do. We're trained to do it. They need us to be strong, focused, task focused, and that's what we try to do.
The rocks that formed the houses have reverted back to rocks. There is nothing for most people here but lonely, back-breaking, heartbreaking toil. As bodies are retrieved, the grief breaks open. This crew flees to escape being swamped by anguished relatives. Moussa Boussafari was on a work trip to Marrakesh when the quake hit. He has returned to the fresh graves of his parents and his daughter. So many people have been hit really badly, he says. Morocco must accept all help, everything it can get. Thousands are officially listed as injured, overwhelming the hospital system, while the search for the living continues. Dangerous work. And far more retrieval now than rescue. Hugh Riminton for 10 News First.
Solemn services have been held around the US to mark 22 years since the September 11 attacks. At the memorial site in New York, silence hung over the service, only broken by the ringing of a bell and the reading of the names of those lost. Hundreds of family members paid tribute to their loved ones, from workers in the towers to the firefighters who ran into the burning buildings and were caught when they collapsed.
James M. Amato.
Jody Tepedino Nicolo.
And my poppy, Gerard Patrick Frank, firefighter from Rescue Company 3. I miss you and love you. I wish you got to take me fishing.
A wreath has, or rather was, laid by the Defence Secretary and a flag unfurled at the Pentagon, where almost 200 lives were lost. And in Pennsylvania, relatives left flowers at the memorial to Flight 93, which crashed into a field when passengers tried to storm the cockpit. Ukrainian forces have retaken a Black Sea oil rig complex lost to Russia back in 2015. Commandos boarded the rigs, finding weapons and supplies, but no soldiers. The platforms had been used by Russian forces to deploy helicopters and electronic warfare equipment. It's as North Korea's leader arrives in Russia to meet with Vladimir Putin. It's widely predicted the Russian president will attempt to strike an arms deal as his supplies dwindle. Trapped American researcher Mark Dickey is finally back above ground after a days-long rescue mission to pull him from a cave more than 1,000 metres deep. Dickey was carried carefully through the waiting crowd of media and well-wishers, these 2 supporters holding a sign welcoming him back to 0 metres. He was taken to a local hospital for assessment and more treatment for the stomach issue that sparked the whole incident. A police call-out over reports of a person making threats inside a home has ended with a man driving an army truck down a suburban street and over several police cars. He damaged 4 patrol cars and hit 5 other vehicles before finally being arrested several kilometres away. The man's been charged with the attempted murder of police officers and criminal damage. Now, this isn't a story to whine about, despite these pictures being a bit on the nose. The streets of this small village looked like something out of the Old Testament, when over 2 million litres of Portuguese plonk burst from tanks at a local distillery. Looking like a reason to leave work early, it was instead declared an environmental emergency, with fears the nearby rivers could be turned into wine.